Hey guys, so we are now going to be talking about solving two-step equations. So make sure that you again have the correct note sheet, 3.3, two-step equations, or if you didn't print it out, whatever the case may be. So now we're going to have to be doing two steps instead of just one step. So you can see our first problem here looks different. Okay, before we would just have had the 4x and the 16. Now we have this plus 8. So your step here is to get all single numbers on one side of the equal sign by adding or subtracting. So our goal is still the same to get that variable by itself. So the first thing we need to do here is to get rid of this plus 8. Well, we're still using inverse operations or opposite operations. The opposite of plus 8 is minus 8. So I need to subtract 8. Now remember, whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other side. So if you still want to put that line there, you can. 8 minus 8 is just 0. That completely cancels out. I'm going to bring down that 4x, bring down that equal sign. 16 minus 8 is 8. Okay, so now I have here, this should look very familiar. This is right like our last lesson. 4x equals 8. Well, there's really a multiplication sign in between that 4x, that 4 and that x. Opposite of multiplication is division. So divide both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is really that 1, which I don't actually need to write, so I can just bring down that x, and then 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, to do our check, yes, again, you can do the checks if you want. I suggest that you do the check, but you don't have to. So to do your check, you would go and take your original equation here, and I would plug that 2 in for the x. So I did 4 times 2 plus 8 equals 16. And this is where knowing your order of operations rules can be very, very helpful. So in order of operations, multiplication and division comes first. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 8. 16 again on this right side here. 8 plus 8 is 16. 16 equals 16. That is correct. So we are good to go. Okay, let's move on and try a few more of these, and then I'm going to let you guys go on your own. So this next one, 9x plus 6 equals 87. So again, I want to get rid of this plain number first. So it says to add 6, so I need to do the opposite, which is subtracting 6. 6 minus 6 is 0, so that goes away. So I have 9x equals 81. So now this looks right like the problems we were just doing before. There's really a multiplication sign in between that 9 and that x. Opposite of multiplication is division. Divide both sides by 9. My 9's go away. I got x equals 81 divided by 9 is 9. Hit pause. Try that next one on your own, please. Okay, so hopefully you actually hit pause. So we should be, yes, it looks a little bit different, but again, our goal is we got to get rid of this plain number, this constant first. This 16 is really a positive. So the opposite of a positive 16 is a negative 16. So we need to subtract. Okay, 16 minus 16 goes away. Bring down that 4x equals 48 minus 16 then is 32. So now this problem looks right like our other ones did. We need to divide both sides by 4 because the 4 and the x are really connected by multiplication. Opposite of multiplication is division. Dividing both sides by 4 gets rid of the 4's. So I end up with x equaling 8. All right, next one again looks a little bit silly, a little bit funny, but again, nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary. Again, I want to get rid of this plain number, the number without the variable. So I want to get the variable by itself. So a negative 7, opposite of negative 7 is a positive 7. So I want to add 7 to both sides. So bring down that 3y equals 65 plus 7 then, making sure that you are using your calculator, please. Should give you 72. And now we can divide both sides by 3 because it's connected by multiplication. And we get y equaling 24. Okay. So you got 3 more problems on your page. Yes, I know these look ugly. There's fractions, there's decimals, but the steps do not change. So take a minute. Try these out, please. Hit pause and try them out. Okay, so hopefully you actually hit pause again. If you didn't, hit pause now and do these problems. All right, so we're gonna go over them. We're gonna subtract our 7 because that is our plain number here. I have a 1/4 C equaling 7. And we talked in our last lesson that when you have a fractioner, you have two different options. One of your options is to multiply by the reciprocal, so I could multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 1/4, which is just 4/1. Okay, doing that, this whole thing here cancels out, and I'm just left with C. And then 7 times 4/1 just gives you 28. Okay, your other option, if you don't like multiplying by the reciprocal, your other option here, let me get to a different color, let's use blue, is to divide by that fraction. You could divide by 1/4. Okay, you will get the same answer, but you need to be very careful in plugging things in the calculator. To plug it into the calculator, you need to put your 7 divided by, and whatever your fraction is here, you need to put that in parentheses. So it would have to be 1 divided by 4 in the calculator. So please be very careful making sure that you are doing that correctly. Okay, moving on to the next one. Subtract your 12. So you get a 2/5 x equaling, oops, made a mistake. Let's try that again. All right, equaling 86. Again, you can divide by 2/5 or you can multiply by the reciprocal of 5/2. Does not matter to me. Whichever one you would like to do. And we should be getting an answer of 215, because again, this whole thing here goes away. Last one here, yes, it deals with a fraction, but nothing too crazy. Again, I just want to get rid of this minus 13. Opposite of minus 13 is adding 13. So your 13, your negative 13, your positive 13 cancel out. Bring down that negative 0.25, and you should get a 48 here. So then we need to go through and divide again. So dividing both sides by negative 0.25 should give you a negative 192 as your answer. Okay, so those are your notes. You do have a practice worksheet there, a practice activity posted in Google Classroom. Please make sure you're going back and checking in Google Classroom and make sure that you are submitting with all of your work. I like the work to be lined up, right, like you see here. So please make sure you're showing all of your steps and make sure your steps are on separate lines. Please do not try to cram everything into one step, okay, or into one line. I'm not going to accept that. You need to be showing each of your steps on a separate line, because as our problems get bigger, it's going to become even more important that we can really read your work and that we can understand what's going on. So please make sure that you are showing every single step and make sure you're showing every step on a separate line. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you guys. Talk to you later.